The Denver Nuggets are quickly becoming one of the most disrespected NBA champions of all time, especially in recent memory, as usually when a team wins a championship like the Golden State Warriors, they hold it to this huge high standard, this dynasty, and rightfully so, because they have been so dominant for the past decade and a few extra years after that. So don't get me wrong, they do deserve it, but usually when a team wins a championship, they're looked at this great, amazing team. They're going to be right back in the thick of it next year. And they're just usually just very, very highly rated the entire offseason and talked about a lot. But with the Denver Nuggets, they won the finals, and then they didn't really get talked about after that, and no one's still talking about them, and they're still continuing to disrespect them. And I'm going to be getting to a few reasons how I think they're getting disrespected from even before they won the championship last year to even now after they won the championship. So if that does sound interesting to you, please watch the entire thing through. And without further ado, without running on too much, let's get right into this video. And really, when the disrespect started was even way before the season even started, before a game was ever even played, when the NBA odds makers for who would win the finals going into the year, the Denver Nuggets had all the way at the ninth best odds to win the NBA Finals, behind teams like the Brooklyn Nets and the Los Angeles Clippers, two teams who combined to win one playoff game that year, was above the two-time MVP Nikola Jokic-led Denver Nuggets, when everybody knew Jamal Murray was also coming back. So, it was just kind of iffy from the jump, and then it just kept on getting worse and worse from there, as even the in-season disrespect didn't get that much better, because despite them finishing with basically identical records as the Philadelphia 76ers, and the Philadelphia 76ers having their second best player in James Harden basically healthy the entire season, compared to the Denver Nuggets, who didn't get Jamal Murray back till about midway through the season, and they still finished with, like I said, almost identical records. They stole Nikola Jokic's third MVP and gave it to Joel Embiid because they didn't want to give it to Jokic 3 years in a row. Now, if you don't believe me on that, I made a video on this. The NBA refuses to give three-peat MVP trophies, even to LeBron, they didn't give him a three-peat. I don't even think Michael Jordan three-peated the MVP, okay? So they just hate giving out 3 MVPs to the same guy in a row, and they almost will never do it ever since Larry Bird did it when he was in the league, okay? So a very long time ago. And I think that was a big reason why they didn't give it to Jokic, and it was just, that's just one of the most disrespectful things you can do. Anyone who watches basketball, now I'm not saying Joel Embiid's bad, obviously not. He won the MVP, and he was probably the second best player in the league that year. But Jokic is just a better basketball player than Joel Embiid. There's no question about it. He's a way better passer. He's just as good at scoring. He can shoot the three better. And he's just, like I said, he just makes the players around him way better than what Joel Embiid does. And just overall is a way more impactful and more important player than someone like Joel Embiid. Jokic is all around a better player. So, that was really disrespectful just to Jokic on an individual standpoint. But then to make things even worse, entering the playoffs on a whole team standpoint of disrespect once again, they went into the playoffs as only the 6th best odds to win the NBA Finals that year, which is just unbelievably disrespectful for a team that finished with the number 1 seed in the Western Conference. And by the way, even though they finished the number 1 seed in the Western Conference, they would be behind 2 teams in the West when it comes to the odds, that being the Golden State Warriors and the Phoenix Suns. The Suns are at least a little understandable because they added Kevin Durant about midway through the season, so people didn't really know how good they could be. But still, it was obvious the Nuggets had a better all-around roster than the Phoenix Suns. And then, yes, the Warriors did just win the finals just a year before this playoffs, but they did not look the same all year. Klay didn't look that great. Curry had a little bit of injury issues, but he did look amazing. Draymond Green had a significant fall off, not just on the offensive end. And they just all around didn't look as good as they usually do. And they kind of just had an off year because they didn't have a lot of depth and things like that. Jordan Poole kind of dropped off as well. And they just didn't look the same. But despite all that, they were still having better odds in betting to win the finals than a team like the Denver Nuggets, who had debatably a 3-time MVP if the MVP actually went to the MVP of the league. And then Jamal Murray, who was playing at a very high level ever since he came back as well. And they were still ranked only the 3rd best team in the West when it came to odds to win the NBA Finals to start the playoffs, which is insane for the number 1 seed in the West. And even despite pretty much dominating the entire playoffs last year, winning the NBA Finals in dominant fashion, they still only have the 2nd best odds of winning the NBA Finals, still behind the Boston Celtics, who, yes, added Kristaps Porzingis, and I do think that's going to make a difference. But the Denver Nuggets just dominated the playoffs. It looked like they were far better. If they're healthy, I would imagine they're still going to be the favorite to win the finals, but not according to the NBA odds makers, obviously. And let's be honest, what have you heard since they won? Besides maybe the parade, if you were in Denver or just watch ESPN all the time. But even then, the only thing you probably heard about anyone on the Nuggets is the fact that Nikola Jokic won a horse race. And that's probably all you heard about it, okay? And they haven't talked about him at all when it comes to the NBA, and I just think that's extremely disrespectful to a team that just dominated their way to the NBA Finals and is more than just healthiness away from maybe two-peating once again, because I don't know if there's many teams in the NBA that got that much better this year on a contending level that are going to make that big of a jump towards being able to beat them and close that gap. If the Denver Nuggets are healthy, they can legitimately beat anybody once again. And overall, I think it's really time to just start giving the Denver Nuggets some respect that they rightfully deserve, and I do think that is not a far-fetched opinion to see they might two-peat go back-to-back. I'm not saying they will, but I think there is a very good chance that they could possibly compete for that. But unfortunately, guys, that's coming for this video, so comment below. Do you agree with me? Do you think that the Denver Nuggets deserve a little bit more respect? Why do you think they're disrespected? Who do you think is going to win the NBA Finals? What are your thoughts in the comment section below? If you'd like to point the like button and subscribe button, I mean the absolute word to me, and I hope you have a blessed day. Could I have a blessed day? So you need to have a blessed day. All glory to God. See you in the next video. Goodbye. Boo.